Ethan Sterling was the sole heir to a financial empire, and his father had groomed 7 young women, orphans taken in years ago, as potential brides for him. They all seemed to dote on him, catering to his every whim, all except Serafina Hayes. Sarah, as everyone called her, was an ice queen, never giving him so much as a kind glance. Naturally, Ethan became obsessed with her, practically her simp, until the day he saw Sarah pin her brother, Finn Hayes, against a wall, confessing her love for him. "Dad, I made up my mind. I'm going to marry Isabel Montgomery," Ethan announced, standing in his father's study, his tone resolute. "Isabel Montgomery? You mean the girl who's been chasing you since you were 3, crying that she'd marry you?" "Mister." Sterling raised an eyebrow. "The Montgomery fortune is vast, and Isabel is certainly beautiful, but I thought your heart was set on Serafina Hayes." He paused. "Besides Sarah, didn't I raise 6 other perfectly suitable young women for you? They adore you, Ethan. Pick any one of them, and she'd give her life for you. Isn't that better than marrying some hot-tempered heiress you'll have to constantly manage?" Ethan managed a bitter smile. A day ago, he too would have believed that, aside from Sarah, the other 6 girls, wards of his father, practically sisters he was expected to choose a wife from, loved him deeply. That they'd rip their hearts out if he asked. But last night, Ethan had stumbled upon their secret. How long do you think it'll take that idiot Ethan to realize Finn isn't actually Sarah's biological brother? The speaker was Maya Vance, one of the chosen, a girl who'd once thrown herself from a balcony in a supposed dramatic display of love for him. Now, she swirled a wine glass, her face a mask of contempt. "He probably thinks I'm head over heels. Truth is, I jumped to scare him off, not to win him over." "Same here," another voice chimed in. "I practically gag every time I have to fawn over Ethan. But I know he hates clingy types, so..." Laughter. "So we all had the same strategy. Act like everything he can't stand, so he won't pick us. Then we can all go after Finn without any strings attached." Only Sarah didn't play the game. And, of course, the glutton for punishment fell for her. Poor Sarah. Honestly, well, someone has to marry Ethan Sterling. Otherwise, how will Finn keep his status as the Sterling family's favored young man? Ethan's fists clenched, his body trembling with a rage so profound it was almost silent. His 7 brides-to-be were all orphans, handpicked by his father. The Sterling Empire was vast, and Ethan was the only son. His father wanted to personally cultivate a capable partner to help Ethan manage the family's assets in the future. So, he gone to orphanages and selected 7 exceptionally gifted girls to be raised as Ethan's potential wives. Serafina Hayes was the most intelligent, the most beautiful, and his father's clear favorite. But when the adoption papers were being processed, Sarah had said, "I have a brother, Finn Hayes. I won't leave him. If you adopt me, you have to adopt him too." At the time, Ethan had thought, she's so loyal to her brother, she'll be just as loyal to her husband. He'd begged his father to take Finn in as well. And so, Finn Hayes became an adopted son of the Sterlings. Growing up, whatever Ethan had, Finn had too. Ethan's 7 intendeds also doted on Finn, especially Sarah, who treated him like a prince. Ethan sometimes felt a pang of jealousy, but the girls would always admonish him. "Ethan, you're being so petty, getting jealous of your own brother." Or, "We all grew up with Finn in the orphanage. He's like a real brother to us. And you have everything, Ethan. Finn only has us, his sisters." Eventually, Ethan himself began to wonder if he truly was too small-minded. Now, listening to their derisive laughter, the fog finally cleared. It wasn't him, it was them. They were master actresses. As his anger simmered, familiar voices drifted from the small garden nearby. Ethan followed the sound and witnessed a scene that shattered his entire worldview. The usually composed Sarah Hayes had Finn pinned against a stone wall, her hand gripping his collar. "Finn," she said, her voice husky with emotion, "you know I only love you, but I can't give you marriage, so I can't sleep with you." "Sarah, then please don't marry Ethan," Finn pleaded, his eyes wide. "If you marry him, I won't speak to you again." Sarah's voice turned cold. "I don't want to marry him either. But Mr. Sterling has been good to us. We owe him." "Finn, be reasonable. Even if I marry Ethan, it will only be a marriage. I won't let him touch me. I won't give him an ounce of my love." Recalling everything from last night, Ethan's fists tightened again. He didn't need Serafina Hayes' pity, her grudging acceptance. He was Ethan Sterling, sole heir to the Sterling fortune. Did he really need to worry about finding a woman? If Sarah didn't want to marry him, plenty of others did. "Dad, don't try to change my mind. Isabel is great. I can feel it. She genuinely likes me." Ethan's gaze dropped, a flicker of desolation in his eyes, quickly masked. He looked up, his resolve firm. "And Maya, Jordan, and the others. They're only nice to me because of their position, because you chose them. He straightened. Dad, one more thing. Since I'm not marrying any of those 7, there's no reason for us to keep supporting them. Freeze all their accounts. His voice hardened. And Finn Hayes, cancel all his credit cards. The Sterlings don't support freeloaders. All right, mister. Sterling nodded. Since you won't marry any of them, there's indeed no reason for them to remain under our roof. On your wedding day, I'll have them all leave the estate. Best to avoid any complications or claims on the inheritance later. After talking with his father, Ethan left the study. As he reached the top of the grand staircase, he ran into Finn. Ethan, Finn said, his expression hopeful. I heard you have your equestrian lesson this afternoon. Can I come too? I've always wanted to learn. Please, Ethan, take me with you. If this had been before, Ethan would have agreed. He wasn't a stingy person. In a good mood, he might have even paid for Finn's lessons himself. But now, remembering last night, a wave of nausea washed over him. With a surge of disgust, Ethan shoved Finn's hand away. Get away from me. He hadn't used much force, but Finn stumbled back dramatically, then tumbled head over heels down the long staircase. Finn! Sarah's voice, sharp with panic, echoed from the foyer below. Ethan looked down. All 7 of them were there. Ethan Sterling, how could you be so cruel? Jordan Maxwell, always the most hot-tempered of the group, was the first to speak. What did Finn ever do to you? Why would you push him down the stairs? Jordan, stop. Finn interjected quickly, his voice weak. It's not Ethan's fault. I just lost my footing. He looked up, his eyes reddening as if he were holding back tears, the picture of a wounded victim. The act worked perfectly. The girls all turned to Ethan, their eyes filled with barely concealed loathing. Especially Sarah. Her gaze was so cold it could freeze fire. But she said nothing, merely shot him a frigid look before helping Finn up and leading him away, not giving Ethan a chance to explain. Ethan gave a wry, humorless smile. It didn't matter. He didn't want to explain anymore. Whatever he said, they wouldn't believe him. The afternoon riding lesson was supposed to be just Ethan and Sarah. But when Ethan arrived at the stables, he saw Finn there too. Finn offered Ethan a placating smile. Ethan, Sarah asked me to come. But don't worry, I won't get in your way. You two go ahead with your ride. I'll just have an instructor show me the basics. His words were smooth, but once the lesson began, Sarah didn't leave Finn's side. She personally adjusted his saddle, carefully helped him out. When Finn struggled, she patiently guided his hands on the reins. When Finn tired and wanted to dismount, Sarah actually knelt, offering her shoulder for him to step on. The scene seared itself into Ethan's mind, because once, he too had used Sarah's shoulder to mount a horse. But Sarah hadn't been willing. His father had been there that day. Seraphina, Mr. Sterling had said, his voice firm, if you marry Ethan, you will be his wife. A woman must know how to serve her husband. Today, I'm setting a precedent. Kneel. Let Ethan use your shoulder to mount. His father had continued, as my daughter-in-law, you can have anything you desire. But after marriage, Ethan must be your priority. He is your everything. You will submit to him, and you need answer to no one else. Mr. Sterling hadn't intended to humiliate Seraphina. He'd simply recognized the fierce pride hidden beneath her composed exterior. She was a genius, exceptionally intelligent. When she was destitute, her arrogance was tempered by necessity. But after years of living in the lap of luxury at the Sterling estate, that innate pride of a gifted mind had become harder to conceal. Worried that Sarah's pride might one day lead her to betray Ethan, Mr. Sterling had used the riding lesson as an opportunity to chasten her. Ethan had been younger then. When he'd stepped on Sarah's shoulder, he'd felt a pang of pity for her, even hesitated. But he hadn't noticed the profound humiliation that filled her eyes in that moment. Now, watching Sarah willingly kneel, allowing Finn to use her shoulder to dismount, Ethan's eyes stung as if pricked by 1,000 needles. Kneeling for him was a humiliation, but kneeling for her brother was an act of devotion. Ethan forced himself to look away, then kicked his horse's flank. The horse broke into a gallop. Riding, with the wind rushing past, Ethan's mood lightened fractionally. Today's lesson was a show jumping course. He needed to clear 3 obstacles, a difficult exercise. Just as his horse soared into the air, preparing to clear the first jump, the saddle strap suddenly snapped. Caught completely off guard, Ethan was thrown, falling hard. The horse, spooked, began to buck and rear wildly, threatening to trample him. And Seraphina, who was supposed to be watching over him, was still by Finn's side. She hadn't even noticed him fall. So, Ethan roared, pain shooting through him, his voice raw with desperation. Only then did Sarah seem to notice his horse was out of control. She approached unhurried, and with surprising ease, calmed the panicked animal. Sarah had studied animal handling. It was why his father insisted she accompany Ethan to his riding lessons. She was supposed to have checked his saddle, to have kept an eye on him at all times, ensuring his safety. But now, all her attention was on Finn. She hadn't even noticed his saddle wasn't properly secured. Ethan ended up with a broken leg and a stay in the hospital. Perhaps as a form of penance, Sarah volunteered to take care of him during his recovery. She was an excellent caregiver. If Ethan was thirsty, a glass of water was at his lips before he even spoke. If his wound twinged, a slight frown was enough for her to bring him painkillers. After the medicine, she'd have his favorite sour candies ready, so he wouldn't have the bitter taste in his mouth. She was always like this. Clearly, she didn't love him, yet she would care for him with such meticulous attention that Ethan sometimes deluded himself into thinking she wasn't unloving, just reserved, unable to express her feelings. But how could she not express them? When she looked at Finn, the love in her eyes practically spilled over. A few days later, Ethan's leg was healing well. That night, he got up to use the bathroom and overheard voices in the hallway. "Serafina, you went too far? You deliberately cut Ethan's saddle strap." It was Maya Vance, another of his father's chosen. Even if Ethan pushed Finn down the stairs, you can't do something like that. A fall from a horse is no joke. He could have broken his neck. Sarah sighed, a barely audible sound. "I just meant to teach him a small lesson. I didn't expect him to get hurt so badly that day." Sarah was an expert rider. She'd calculated that if the horse didn't jump, the fall wouldn't be serious. Who knew Ethan would be practicing show jumping, and the horse would leap so high? "I've made my amends," Sarah added. "I've been at his beck and call these past few days. I've compensated him. He's fine now, so let's just drop it. No one mention it again." In that instant, an inexplicable chill swept through Ethan. Just to get back at him for Finn, she had intentionally damaged his saddle. Her meticulous care these past days was merely compensation for a miscalculation, not because she felt sorry for his injury. Ethan's fists clenched so tightly his knuckles cracked, but he felt no pain. His heart ached far more. The next day, Ethan was discharged from the hospital. Serafina Hayes pulled up in her car to pick him up, but Ethan didn't even glance her way. He walked straight to Maya Vance's car and got in. Maya was beautiful and witty. She spent the entire drive trying to make Ethan laugh, but he couldn't muster even a smile. "Ethan, what's wrong?" Maya asked gently, taking his hand. "There's a big auction tonight. Why don't I take you? Retail therapy always helps. Once we're there, bid on whatever you like." "It's on me," Ethan replied listlessly. "Don't pretend to be so generous. You'd just be using sterling money anyway, wouldn't you?" "Don't underestimate me," Maya chuckled. "Sarah isn't the only genius the Sterlings took in. She knows how to make money, but I've made some good investments overseas myself these past few years. Don't worry, spend whatever you want. Your future wife can afford to support you." Ethan finally cracked a smile. "In that case, I'll have to take you up on that. Let's go." To the auction. The auction house was buzzing, a glittering assembly of New York's elite. The most anticipated item of the night, rumor had it, was a men's watch called Edge of Time, its transparent face meticulously crafted for blue diamonds. Ethan was a collector of rare timepieces. A watch this unique was a must-have. But just as he settled into his seat, Sarah walked in, Finn Hayes at her side. The smile on Ethan's face froze. He had a sinking feeling Finn would compete with him for the Edge of Time. Sure enough, the moment the Edge of Time was presented, Finn raised his paddle. But then, noticing Ethan also bidding, he hesitated for a few moments before lowering his paddle with a look of pained resignation. "Oh, Ethan, you wanted the Edge of Time too?" Finn forced a smile. "Then I don't want it. I can't take something my brother likes." He then looked down, a telltale glint of moisture in his eyes, as if deeply wronged. Sarah's expression instantly turned glacial. Her gaze, when it fell on Ethan, held an added layer of disdain. "Finn," Sarah said, her voice cool and clear, "with me here, you don't need to be so self-sacrificing." She then added, "If you want something, go for it. Your sister has the money to back you up." Before Finn could reply, Sarah raised her own bidding paddle. $10 million. The entire auction hall fell silent. Several socialites gasped, stunned by the astronomical figure. Amidst the surprise, whispers began to circulate. "What's going on? Isn't Serafina Hayes one of Ethan Sterling's intendeds? Why is she buying such an expensive watch for another man? And it's the watch Ethan Sterling wanted. Isn't she openly slapping him in the face? That Ethan Sterling. Talk about unlucky, heir to a fortune, getting publicly outbid and humiliated by one of the women his father picked for him. This woman has zero respect for him." Ethan's fists clenched silently. He'd been spoiled by his father his whole life. But at this moment, Sarah had turned him into a laughingstock. To be so disregarded by the woman he had once been convinced he'd marry. A wave of humiliation washed over him. In a fit of pique, Ethan signaled a price as no-object bid to the auctioneer. No one was going to outmaneuver him. An unlimited bid. Mr. Sterling has signaled an unlimited bid, the auctioneer announced, his voice ringing with excitement. Congratulations to Mr. Sterling for successfully acquiring the Edge of Time. For a moment, Ethan felt the suffocating pressure in his chest ease. But when it was time to pay, the auction house informed him his card had been frozen. That's impossible, Ethan frowned. My card has no limit. It shouldn't be frozen no matter how much I spend. He had them try again, but the card still wouldn't go through. Just then, Maya Vance approached, a playful look on her face. Honey, didn't we agree I was paying today? Use mine. She smiled and handed over a card, but it too was declined. How can that be? Maya frowned, equally incredulous. A commotion rippled through the attendees. Someone even laughed out loud. Did the Sterlings go bankrupt? Can't even cover 10 million. If you don't have the money, don't make such a spectacle. How embarrassing. Countless jeers drilled into Ethan's ears. His face flushed crimson. Sarah Hayes, who had been watching the drama unfold from her seat, finally rose slowly. She took out a black credit card and handed it to a staff member. Use mine. This time, the payment went through. The auction house staff presented the Edge of Time to Sarah, and Sarah, in front of everyone, fastened the Edge of Time onto Finn Hayes' wrist. In that instant, Ethan Sterling truly became the biggest joke in the entire auction hall. That manipulative bitch. Maya hissed under her breath. Our card's being declined. Sarah must be behind it. She's a top-tier hacker. I saw her open her laptop earlier. She must have hacked our accounts. That's why our cards were frozen. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot, his heart aching fiercely. So that was it. Sarah was deliberately humiliating him. After fastening the watch on Finn, Sarah's beautiful, almond-shaped eyes swept coldly towards Maya. If you don't have the strength to back it up, don't try to play the hero. Then she looked at Ethan, her tone flat. You should have taken my car. Ethan gave a desolate smile. But your car already had an occupant. With that, he turned and left, not looking back at Sarah. Humiliated at the auction, Ethan locked himself in his room for the next few days, refusing to see anyone. Maya visited him a few times, even bringing his favorite pastries. But Ethan barely acknowledged her. He knew Maya didn't genuinely like him either. She'd admitted it herself that night. She'd even jumped from a balcony to make him stay away from her. Ethan's been holed up for days. We need to get him out. Or if Mr. Sterling finds out, it'll be a mess. So annoying. I'm not going. I have to spend time with Finn. You think I don't want to be with Finn? Same old rules. Whoever spends time with Ethan gets to see Finn. In the living room, his 6 brides-to-be were gathered, trying to pass the buck, none of them wanting to go upstairs and coax Ethan out. What they didn't know was that Ethan heard every word. Ever since accidentally discovering their secret, Ethan had secretly installed miniature cameras and listening devices throughout the house. He wouldn't be a fool kept in the dark. He wanted to hear with his own ears how these 7 women talked about him behind his back. I'm definitely not going, Maya said, her voice laced with anger. It's always Sarah who pisses Ethan off, and then we have to be the ones to smooth things over. Why should we? Whoever caused the trouble should fix it. Just then, Sarah's elegant figure appeared on the monitor. No need for you to go, Sarah said coldly. I'll handle my man. Don't trouble yourselves. With that, she picked up a gift box and headed upstairs. Ethan quickly turned off the monitor, so he didn't see the furious expressions on the faces of the other girls. She's so arrogant, Jordan Maxwell muttered, clenching her fists. Ethan hasn't even chosen her yet. What right does she have to call Ethan her man? Hearing this, Maya gave a sad, knowing smile. Does it make a difference? Ethan will choose her anyway. We're all just also-rans. Ethan had deadbolted his door, but Serafina Hayes still opened it with unnerving ease. Get out. I don't want to see you, Ethan said, his voice like ice. And locking a door means I don't want you in. Don't pick locks so blatantly. Sarah actually smiled. Sorry, a bad habit from when I was homeless. She spoke as she calmly sat down beside Ethan. Back then, things were tough. We often went hungry. Sometimes, to fill our stomachs, we had to do unsavory things. Sarah's voice held a faint trace of sorrow. During those dark days, Finn was the only one by my side. He's the most important person in my life. She paused, then turned to Ethan, her dark eyes like bottomless pools. No one could truly see through her. Ethan, Sarah said, I'm actually very grateful to your father for taking Finn and me in, and I'm willing to do anything for you. She paused again. But on one condition, you have to accept Finn. Finn is my brother, my only family in this world. I won't allow anyone to hurt him, not even you. For a fleeting moment, Ethan almost believed her, until she uttered that phrase. Finn is my brother. Brother? Do blood siblings exchange passionate confessions of love? She was a liar. So, you're saying that even if we get married, Finn will always come first? Ethan asked, a humorless smile playing on his lips. That's right, Sarah admitted without hesitation. Finn will always be my priority. She added, but after we're married, I will as Mr. Sterling requires, honor you, love you always, protect you, and ensure you never experience even a moment of unhappiness. Ethan was still smiling, a smile that made his eyes ache. Serafina, you say you won't let me be unhappy, but don't you know all my unhappiness comes from you? Ethan Sterling was born to privilege. His past forbearance was due to love, but now, listening to this woman's hypocrisy, he refused to endure it any longer. Your good brother is just an effeminate pretty boy who seduces his sister. What makes him worthy of being compared to me? After Ethan's words, Sarah's expression visibly soured. She stayed in his room for less than 5 minutes before a call from Finn summoned her away. Before leaving, Sarah left the gift box. Inside was a new Rolex. While expensive, it was clearly inferior to the edge of time. Everything was just as Sarah had promised. She would defer to Ethan, but not by much. Finn would always be her priority, and Ethan could only be second. Ethan glanced at the gift box, then tossed it into the trash without a second thought. His woman had to put him first in everything. If he could only be second, then he didn't want that woman at all. Soon, it was Ethan's birthday, his 21st. Mr. Sterling had said he would announce Ethan's future wife on this day. Consequently, the birthday banquet was unprecedentedly grand. All of New York's most prominent figures were in attendance. Ethan had a custom-made suit, but unfortunately, Finn had the edge of time. It would have perfectly complemented his attire. Just then, a server knocked and entered, carrying an exquisite gift box. Mr. Sterling, Ms. Montgomery sent me, the server said respectfully. Ms. Montgomery knows you were upset about the watch at the auction, so she had another one custom-made for you, a timepiece crafted from pigeon's blood rubies. As he spoke, the server opened the box. It blazed with light. The deep red diamond face made everything around it seem to lose its luster. Pigeon's blood, the most prized of rubies. The server continued, this watch is named Eternal Love. Ms. Montgomery said, blue diamonds are merely colored stones. Red diamonds are true classics. A genuine smile, long absent, finally appeared on Ethan's face. He fastened Eternal Love onto his wrist, an aura of distinction instantly emanating from him. Marriage. How could it be the same no matter whom he married? At this moment, Ethan was incredibly grateful he had chosen Isabel Montgomery. Once everything was ready, Ethan opened his bedroom door, preparing to go out, only to see Finn Hayes standing there. Ethan. Finn approached, seemingly about to say something, but when he saw the pigeon's blood ruby watch on Ethan's wrist, the smile on his face froze. Where did you get that watch? Finn's tone changed. Did Sarah give it to you? Ethan, his face impassive, brushed past Finn. None of your business. A flash of jealous hatred crossed Finn's eyes. Ethan, you don't really think she likes you, do you? The person Sarah likes is me. She doesn't like you at all. She's only marrying you to repay Mr. Sterling's kindness, enduring the disgust of it. As Finn spoke, he pulled out his phone and played a video for Ethan. In the video, it must have been from when Finn was upset about Sarah marrying Ethan and threatened to leave. Sarah, looking frantic, had apparently locked Finn in a room. She was shown personally feeding him, putting on his shoes, repeatedly confessing her eternal love for him. She even promised that if she married Ethan, she would ensure Ethan lived like a monk in a sexless marriage. She would never betray Finn. Her body and soul would belong to Finn for life. See? Finn sneered. Even if she marries you, my sister will never let you touch her. She only loves me. Has she ever been this crazy for you? If you have any sense, you won't choose my sister tonight. You can pick any of my other 6 simps. I've slept with all of them anyway. Maya's the best in bed, Jordan's the wildest. No matter which one you pick, they'll take good care of you. But my sister will only leave you frustrated. Ha ha, you'd better think carefully. Hearing these vile words, Ethan couldn't hold back any longer. He swung around and punched Finn hard in the face. Shut up. Running around like an animal, what's the difference? You disgusting beast. But just as his fist connected, an icy gaze fixed on him from behind. Ethan froze instantly. Turning, he met Serafina Hayes' chilling eyes. Sarah gave Ethan a cold, penetrating look, but said nothing. This, however, was the worst possible reaction. Ethan knew Sarah too well. If Finn was involved, she would exact revenge. Absolutely. Though she came from humble beginnings, her personality was dark, almost unhinged. Consequently, Ethan was on edge throughout the entire birthday banquet. He was filled with trepidation, constantly worried that Sarah would, in the next second, subtly and ruthlessly stab him in the back. Yet, the entire party proceeded with uncanny smoothness, without any incident. Soon it was noon. Mr. Sterling was about to announce whom Ethan would marry. The room buzzed with speculation. Ethan will definitely choose Sarah. Everyone in our circle knows he's completely whipped by her. Sarah isn't just beautiful. She's brilliant and ruthless. If she marries into the Sterling family and takes over Sterling Industries, who in the business world could possibly compete with her? Perhaps only Isabel Montgomery could rival her. I heard Isabel chased Ethan for years, but isn't it tragic? Isabel Montgomery, after all those years pursuing Ethan, didn't even get an invitation to be one of the potentials, and now she has to watch him marry her arch-rival. Listening to the crowd's chatter, Ethan couldn't help but smile secretly. He discreetly glanced at Isabel and found her looking back at him. Her eyes were full of affection. She mouthed to him using hand signals. "You better not change your mind." Ethan smiled gently, about to reply, when suddenly, the large screen behind the main stage began to scroll through photos of him. There were shots of his back in the shower, a side profile of him sleeping completely naked. As the photos finished, a video began to play. In the video, Ethan was holding a piece of Serafina's clothing, inhaling its scent with a look of intense longing, while his other hand moved under the fabric, clearly pleasuring himself. "Sarah, I love you so much." The man in the video whispered, like a lovesick stalker, confessing to a piece of clothing. In reality, Ethan was crumbling. He looked at Sarah in despair, his heart feeling like it was being shredded. Just because he called Finn a rutting animal earlier, Sarah was publicly exposing these intensely private moments, as if to prove to everyone that he, Ethan Sterling, was the one constantly horny, the truly shameless one. "Sarah, how could you do this?" He was a man. Was it a crime to have loved her like that once? Why humiliate him so publicly? Who put this video on? Turn it off. Turn it off immediately. Mr. Sterling was livid. He rushed forward to try and stop the video, but it wouldn't turn off. Finally, Isabel Montgomery lunged forward and smashed the projector. The large screen went black. Who did this? Who the hell did this? Mr. Sterling was trembling with rage. "Lock the doors. No one leaves until we find the person responsible." "Mr. Sterling, please calm down. A business partner tried to sue them. Ethan and Sarah are getting married anyway. This video isn't really a big deal. That's right, Ethan's a man, and these are just intimate moments between a couple. We all understand." But Mr. Sterling's face remained ashen. Only he knew that Ethan's intended bride had already changed. In the silence, Mr. Sterling looked up, his expression grave as he met Isabel Montgomery's eyes. He wanted to know her decision. Receiving her future father-in-law's unspoken cue, Isabel stepped forward without hesitation. She linked her arm through Ethan's, then announced in a loud, clear voice, "The person Ethan is going to marry is me." Her voice rang with conviction. "And I will not spare anyone who harms Ethan. Those videos, if anyone dares to have secretly filmed and leaked them, I will make you wish you'd never been born." Her words fell into a stunned silence. Everyone stared at Isabel in shock, especially Serafina Hayes and the other 6 Sterling wards. Their faces turned deathly pale in an instant. Ethan actually chose her. Don't be ridiculous. Everyone knows Ethan is madly in love with Sarah. How could he possibly choose Isabel Montgomery? Among his father's chosen girls, Serafina Hayes and Maya Vance were naturally the most stunned. "Ethan, are you joking?" Sarah asked, her face a coal mask. "Is it because I gave the edge of time to my brother instead of you? Is that why you're pulling this stunt today, deliberately trying to spite me?" Maya, too, looked indignant. "Ethan, why would you choose Isabel? If you want to make Sarah jealous, you could have picked me. I'd willingly let you use me." Her passionate declaration moved many in the room. Maya Vance is so in love with Ethan Sterling. I heard she even jumped off a building for him. Why isn't Ethan choosing her? If a woman loved me that much, I'd marry her without a second thought. Everyone in New York knows Maya Vance is crazy about Ethan Sterling, but he's never given her a second glance. Everyone present seemed to be sympathizing with Maya, feeling her love was unrequited, her devotion misplaced. Listening to their murmurs of pity, Ethan couldn't help but smile. He met Maya's adoring gaze and asked, "Maya, do you really love me that much?" "Of course," Maya said without hesitation. Ethan, I love you. I would do anything for you, even die for you. Ethan was still smiling. You love me that much? But how come I heard that when you jumped from that balcony, it was actually to scare me away? Maya's face instantly turned chalk white. You? Who told you that? Was it Jordan? Ethan, don't listen to her nonsense. She's just spreading rumors. I swear on my life, I never said that. I genuinely love you. No one in this world loves you more than I do. Maya's performance was truly convincing. For a fleeting moment, Ethan almost believed her. But unfortunately for her, Ethan had heard her true feelings. No matter how well she acted now, it was useless. Tired of her charade, Ethan pulled out a small digital recorder and pressed play. That idiot Ethan probably thinks I'm head over heels for him, right? Actually, when I jumped from that balcony, it wasn't to declare my love, it was to scare him off. Maya's mocking voice filled the room. A wave of shock rippled through the guests. Maya's face lost all color. Maya, no one was spreading rumors, Ethan said calmly. You said those words yourself. So, stop playing the devoted lover in front of me. It's disgusting. Ethan, you misunderstood. Maya's eyes began to redden. Actually, However, before she could finish, Isabel Montgomery stepped forward and slapped Maya hard across the face. No one calls my fiancé an idiot in front of me, Isabel declared fiercely. And furthermore, I'm the one who loves Ethan the most in this world. Hearing the word fiancé, Sarah's perfectly sculpted eyebrows instantly knitted together. Ethan, stop this foolishness, Sarah said. The person you truly want to marry, isn't it me? I'm willing to marry you. And I'm willing, just as Mr. Sterling asked, to always cherish you, love you, be second only to you, above all others. So stop the charade. The Montgomerys are business partners of the Sterlings. Old Mr. Montgomery and your father are old friends. If you humiliate Isabel like this, it will damage the relationship between our two families. Listening to Serafina Hayes, Ethan almost laughed from sheer frustration and pain. He forced down the ache in his heart. Sarah, you can't possibly think that after everything that's happened, I'd still want to marry you? You pull a stunt like this, and you still have the audacity to say you're willing to marry me. His voice trembled slightly. You may be willing, but I am not. Ethan's reddened eyes burned with an intense hatred. It made Sarah's heart flutter uncomfortably. Ethan, what are you saying? I don't understand. Sarah, stop pretending. Ethan finally snapped. He pointed at the smashed projector, his voice cracking. Those photos and that video just now. Wasn't that you're doing? Sarah's heart lurched again. Her usually impassive face was, for once, wide-eyed with disbelief. Ethan, you actually think I did that? Her voice was laced with a hidden, profound pain. Wasn't it? Ethan bit out. Those photos weren't taken by me. Someone secretly filmed me. You know how to pick locks. Even if my room is deadbolt, you can open it effortlessly. And that final video, judging by the angle, it was taken by a security camera. You're a top-tier hacker. Manipulating the house cameras to spy on me would be child's play for you. Ethan bit his lip so hard it nearly bled, his eyes blazing. Sarah, stop the act. I know it was you. Just because I punched Finn Hayes this morning, you retaliate like this. We grew up together. Even if you don't like me, after all these years. Today is my birthday party, and you humiliate me in front of everyone. Are you even human? Ethan's emotions escalated as he spoke. Finally, he couldn't control himself. He raised his hand and slapped Sarah hard across her stunning face. Crack! The sharp sound echoed. A bright red handprint slowly bloomed on Sarah's flawless cheek. Mr. Sterling was also shaking with anger. Leaning heavily on his cane, he trembled as he walked over to Sarah and demanded, his voice hoarse, Sarah, is what Ethan said true? Those photos and that video, did you really release them? For years, Mr. Sterling had treated Sarah like his own daughter. She was intelligent and capable. He had always admired her. He had genuinely wanted his son to marry her. He had even considered making Sarah the successor to the Sterling empire he had built from scratch. How could Sarah do something so devoid of humanity? Mr. Sterling couldn't believe it. He needed to hear her admit it herself. Faced with Mr. Sterling's accusation, Sarah remained composed. I did not do it. She looked at him directly. Dad, Ethan is my fiancé. I truly want to marry him. Why would I publicly release such things at his birthday party to humiliate him? Wouldn't that be slapping my own face as well? Sarah's expression didn't look like she was lying, but Ethan couldn't bring himself to trust her. He had been deceived by her too many times. I will prove my innocence, Sarah stated firmly. All network information leaves a trace. Give me a computer. I will track the electronic signal. I will find a mastermind behind this, and I will tear them limb from limb. Ethan didn't trust Serafina. Worried she might try some trickery, he had Mr. Sterling bring in two other expert hackers to track the electronic signal alongside her. Ethan, you don't believe me? Sarah's pupils trembled slightly. For the first time, her deep, unreadable eyes showed a flicker of hurt. That's right. I don't believe you, Ethan said coldly, and you're not worthy of my trust. Sarah's fist clenched silently, then relaxed. Fine. You're angry. I won't argue with you. I will prove my innocence and regain your trust. With that, Sarah opened a laptop and began tracing the network source of the private photos and video. Strings of green code flashed rapidly across the screen. Sarah's fingers flew across the keyboard, her expression more focused than ever before. The other two hackers were also typing furiously, but their skill and speed were no match for Sarah's. Soon, Sarah pinpointed the single true source signal hidden within the vast sea of information. Her eyes sharpened, and a faint smile touched her lips. Found it. Instantly, everyone gathered around, curiously peering at Sarah's laptop screen. But the screen was filled with green code, incomprehensible to most. Sarah, what does this mean? Mr. Sterling asked, puzzled. Who is the culprit? Sarah's expression suddenly froze. She stared intently at the last line of green code on the screen, her face turning ashen. An amateur might not understand, but anyone familiar with hacking could see at a glance that the last line of code represented the current location of the mastermind, the model of the phone they used, and the method by which they had remotely controlled the projector to play those photos and videos. Sarah's face turned deathly pale. Before the other two hackers could lean in for a closer look, she snapped the laptop shut. No need to investigate further, Sarah announced loudly. I already know who the mastermind is. As she spoke, she strode forward and unceremoniously snatched the laptops from the other two hackers. Serafina, what are you doing? Ethan demanded angrily. Give them back their computers. He moved to retrieve the laptops, but Sarah grabbed his hand. There's no need to search anymore, Sarah said. Because... She paused slightly, then looked up, her gaze deep and penetrating, finding Finn Hayes hiding in the crowd. She quickly looked away, then turned to Ethan, her eyes filled with an overwhelming apology. Because the mastermind behind this is me. Ethan, you were right. I did it. I did all of it. Serafina Hayes wanted to take all the blame. But the moment she spoke, Ethan knew who the real culprit was. Sarah, Ethan's voice was raw, his heart feeling like it was literally dripping blood. It's gotten to this point, and you're still going to protect him? Sarah's dark eyes flickered, but she forced herself to maintain her composure. I'm not protecting anyone. The mastermind is me. Then why didn't you admit it at first? Ethan pressed, his voice rising. You put on such a righteous act, talking about helping me trace the electronic signal. Now that the signal has been traced, you suddenly confess? Isn't that a bit too suspicious? Sarah looked down, her beautiful face a mask of stoic endurance. She bit her lip. Though she knew her excuse was riddled with holes, she steeled herself and said, I was pretending then. I suggested helping you trace the signal to cover up the truth, to prevent you from discovering I was the mastermind. But I didn't expect you to distrust me and bring in two other hackers. I couldn't keep up the act. Rather than wait for them to uncover the truth and expose me publicly, I decided to confess. At least this way, I retained some dignity. Listening to Sarah, the guests began to murmur among themselves. Did Serafina Hayes really do this? It doesn't feel right. I also think something strange. It's like she's protecting someone. But who is she protecting? Who could make the untouchable Serafina Hayes willingly take the fall? Hearing their speculation, Ethan couldn't help but laugh bitterly. They didn't know who Sarah was protecting, but he did. In this world, there was only one person for whom Sarah would abandon all principles, disregard all consequences, and protect with everything she had. Sarah, do you think that by taking all the blame, I'll just let him go? Ethan's voice was dangerously low. He humiliated me like this. Do you think I'll let him walk out of this door unharmed? A look of agony crossed Sarah's features. Ethan, I'm begging you, let this be the end of it. As long as you don't pursue this any further, I'll do anything you ask. You like me, don't you? I can marry you. We can get married right now. Before Sarah could finish, Ethan burst into hysterical laughter. Ha ha, I can't. My stomach hurts from laughing. Sarah, who gave you the confidence to think that after everything that happened, I would still be willing to marry you? Sarah's dark eyes trembled. Ethan. However, Ethan gave her no chance to speak. He cut her off sharply. I stopped loving you a long time ago. You and Finn Hayes make me sick. Serafina Hayes looked up, her gaze meeting Ethan Sterling's, eyes filled with an undisguised disgust. The aversion in his eyes was so potent, so raw, that in that instant, Sarah felt a pain so sharp, it was as if her heart were being physically torn apart. How could this be? Her mind went blank. Sarah couldn't comprehend why Ethan would look at her with such revulsion. Didn't he love her? Love her to the point that no matter how coldly she treated him, he remained unfazed, still cheerfully clinging to her, pestering her to do this or that. Love her to the point that he, the heir to a vast fortune, was willing to humble himself and actively pursue her. Love her to the point that when others ridiculed him, calling him her simp, he didn't care, instead proudly retorting, "I just like Serafina. She's so exceptional. Isn't it normal for me to like her?" He had once loved her so dearly. But why now? Why did his eyes, when they looked at her, no longer sparkle with adoration, but instead reflect only disgust? What had happened? Why had everything suddenly changed so drastically? A searing pain shot through her chest. Sarah clutched at her heart. Always so capable, so in control, at this moment she felt like a lost child, utterly panicked and unsure what to do. You don't love me anymore." Sarah stared intently into Ethan's eyes, then enunciated each word slowly. "I don't believe you." He had loved her for so long. How could he just stop loving her just like that? Love couldn't be so fragile. Ethan sneered. "Believe what you want." With that, he turned his attention to Finn Hayes. Now that he knew Finn was behind all this, Ethan certainly wouldn't let him off easy. "Finn Hayes, you goddamn animal." Ethan strode forward, reached Finn, clenched his fist, and landed a brutal punch. "I begged my father to get you out of that orphanage, fed you, clothed you, and you stab me in the back like this. You eat our food, use our things, enjoy the privileged life the Sterlings provided for you. And behind our backs, you pull this disgusting stunt." Ethan continued to rain blows on Finn as he spoke. Soon, Finn's face was a bloody mess. "Ethan, stop hitting me. Please stop." Finn cried, begging for mercy. "You've got it wrong. I'm innocent. I didn't do anything." But how could Ethan possibly believe him? Seeing Finn still denying it, Ethan kicked him hard in the knee. The blow was so forceful that Finn's leg buckled, and he crumpled to the ground with a thud. "Dad, I really didn't do anything." Seeing that begging Ethan was useless, Finn turned to Mr. Sterling. "I'm innocent, Dad. You have to believe me. I don't even know how to use a computer, let alone remotely control a projector. Someone must have framed me. Dad, Sarah and I, we were both framed." Seeing Finn crying so pitifully, Mr. Sterling felt a pang of uncertainty. He had raised Sarah and Finn. He truly didn't want to believe they were involved in this. "So, Mr. Sterling tentatively asked, Ethan, could there be a mistake? Finn is good at his studies, but he really doesn't understand hacking or anything like that. How could he be the mastermind?" Ethan didn't speak, merely turned his head to look at Sarah. "Will you reveal the truth, or shall I?" Ethan asked. "I also have evidence proving Finn did all this, but my evidence is extreme. Once I release it, Finn Hayes is finished. Sarah, Finn, I'm giving you one last chance. Confess yourselves, and I can let you go with a shred of dignity." Faced with Ethan Sterling's relentless pressure, the expression on Serafina Hayes' face grew increasingly tormented. She finally snapped, her voice strained. "Ethan, you've already beaten Finn to this state. Isn't that enough? Let it end here. If we really tear everything apart, it won't do anyone any good." Her last sentence held a faint, yet unmistakable, hint of threat. The other Sterling wards also began to speak up. "Ethan, even if you're the young master of the Sterling family, you can't be this excessive. Look at what you've done to Finn." "Exactly. No proof. Just start hitting someone. What kind of manners are those? Finn may be an orphan, but orphans are people too. He doesn't deserve to be abused like this." All the girls were shielding Finn, as if he were the one who had pulled them out of the mire. But in reality, it was Ethan's father who had adopted them. It was the Sterling family's money and resources that had transformed each of them into elegant, cultured young women. It was the Sterlings who had given them the capital and connections to invest and start businesses, allowing them to accumulate their initial wealth. If it weren't for Ethan Sterling, his father would never have adopted them. They'd still be playing in the dirt at some underfunded orphanage. "Huh," Ethan sneered. He swept his gaze over his father's chosen girls, his voice cold. "You all can stop your yapping too, because the evidence I have, once it's out, you'll all be finished." The girls were startled. They exchanged uneasy glances, then looked at Ethan warily. "Ethan, what do you mean? You don't think we were involved in this, do you?" Ethan didn't answer them directly. He just smiled, a chillingly calm smile, and pulled a USB drive from his shirt pocket. "I didn't want to be this cruel, Finn," Ethan said, his eyes cold as ice. fixing on Finn Hayes, "but you brought this on yourself." He then raised his voice. "Since you dared to publicly display my private photos, then I'll show everyone something even more stimulating." Someone, bring in a new projector. At his command, servants immediately brought in a new projector. Ethan, still smiling faintly, inserted the USB drive. "Actually, over a month ago, I had miniature cameras and listening devices installed in various corners of the villa," Ethan said, his gaze sweeping over each of the girls. He spoke slowly, deliberately. "Initially, I just wanted to hear how you all mocked me behind my back. But I didn't expect that, besides your ugly true colors, I'd also capture some other interesting things." At these words, the faces of Sarah and Finn changed drastically. The other 6 girls' expressions were equally dramatic, some guilty, some furious, some on the verge of breaking down completely. "Ethan Sterling, how could you secretly film us? That's going too far." Ethan just said mildly, "I installed security cameras in my own home to guard against thieves. What's so excessive about that?" After saying this, he couldn't be bothered with these ungrateful wretches any longer. He directly ordered the servants to turn on the projector and play the recording. "Ah, sister, you're so good." A man's moan echoed, and Finn Hayes' face, contorted in pleasure, appeared on the screen. He was roughly on top of a woman, and that woman was not Serafina Hayes. "Ah, sister, you're amazing. I love it." In the video, Finn Hayes was passionately entangled with Jordan Maxwell. Both were naked, engaged in a brazen tryst in the back garden. "Finn," Jordan Maxwell asked with a sly smile in the video, "if Sarah saw us like this, do you think she'd lose her mind?" "No way," Finn replied, thrusting wildly, a grin on his face. "Sarah's just my sister. We have a sibling bond, nothing more. Jordan, my love, it's always been you." In the video, Finn Hayes was making heartfelt declarations of love to Jordan. Outside the video, Serafina Hayes' face had become terrifyingly pale. "Ah!" Finn screamed and lunged forward, trying to shut off the projector. "Stop it. Don't play it anymore. This video is fake. It's all fake. I never did anything like this." However, before he could reach the projector, he was firmly restrained by Sterling family staff. Ethan Sterling sneered. "Turn off the projector? Oh no, that won't do. Because the really good part is still to come." As soon as he finished speaking, the scene in the video abruptly changed. Finn Hayes was now entangled with another of the Sterling wards. "Sister, you're so incredible," Finn panted, pressing down on Lila Turner, his hips moving with abandon. "I love you so much. You're my only woman. Actually, the first time I saw you at the orphanage, I fell deeply in love with you. You're my everything." This scene made everyone present gasp in disbelief. Originally, people thought Finn Hayes was just a young man sowing his wild oats, perhaps having an affair with Jordan Maxwell. But they never imagined he was involved with all of Ethan's intended brides. My God, did Finn Hayes sleep with every single one of Ethan Sterling's chosen girls? My jaw is on the floor. Isn't Finn supposed to be this innocent, sweet guy? How could he do something like this? The impression I had of Finn was also pure, kind, and naive. I never thought he was playing such a wild game behind the scenes. The crowd buzzed with shocked murmurs. Finn, at this point, was on the verge of complete despair. "Ethan, please, I'm begging you, turn off the video." Finn cried, pleading. "I admit it. I released your private photos. I did everything. I confess everything. Punish me however you want. I just beg you, turn off the video." Hearing this, a slight smile touched Ethan's lips. After so many days of frustration, at this moment, he finally felt a sense of vindication. "Finn Hayes," Ethan sneered. "Now you know what it feels like to have your privacy violated, don't you? You know how to admit you're wrong now? Or was this remorse earlier? When you publicly displayed my private photos, did you ever consider how I would feel? Today is my birthday. My father, all my relatives, all my friends are here. Even my fiancé is here. You exposed my private moments in front of everyone I hold dearest. How malicious must your heart be to do something so depraved? Now you feel embarrassed? Ashamed? The knife is in your own flesh, and now you feel the pain? Too late. Keep playing it. The grand finale hasn't even aired yet." The grand finale, of course, was the footage of Serafina Hayes and Finn Hayes being intimate. They had always claimed to be biological siblings. One could only imagine the shockwave the video would create once it was shown. Serafina Hayes seemed to realize what Ethan meant by the grand finale. Her face turned cold as she stepped forward. "Ethan, that's enough. Stop it here." Ethan swung around and slapped her hard across the face. "Sarah, what right do you have to tell me to stop?" He looked at her with cold eyes, those long, phoenix-like eyes no longer holding any admiration, no longer any pain. In their place was an uncontainable fury. You knew Finn did all of this, yet you still wanted to protect him. You never once considered my feelings. You never thought about the impact those photos and videos would have on me when publicly displayed. Your eyes only see Finn. You only want to protect Finn. Since you never considered my feelings, why should I consider yours? At this, Ethan couldn't help but smile, a chilling smile. So, Sarah, enjoy the final grand gift I'm presenting to you. You deserve it. Sarah looked as if she might collapse, stumbling back a step. Ethan, However, before she could finish her sentence, a wave of gasps erupted from the crowd. Oh my God, is that woman in the video Serafina Hayes? Sarah and Finn? Aren't they brother and sister? How could they? This pair of siblings is disgusting. Isn't this blatant incest? Ethan Sterling has it rough. What kind of ungrateful monsters are these 7 girls his father raised for him? The video played to its end. Sure enough, the faces of Sarah and Finn appeared, tightly entwined, kissing passionately. This scene shattered everyone's moral compass. The guests in attendance exploded. Some, with hotter tempers, directly smashed their wine glasses towards Finn. You shameless animal. You even seduced your own sister. So shameless. The Sterling family kindly adopted him, and he spends all his efforts seducing the young master's intended brides. And he secretly released young Master Sterling's private photos. This man is disgusting. As they spoke, people began grabbing food from the long buffet tables and angrily hurling it at Finn. Finn, like a criminal being paraded through the streets in ancient times, was soon covered in food and bleeding from several cuts. Some even felt food wasn't enough punishment and, grabbing a bottle of red wine, smashed it over Finn's head. Crash! A direct hit. The wine bottle shattered, sending shards of glass and wine splashing all over Finn. His forehead was cut open, fresh blood mixing with the dirty wine, stinging his wounds and making them hurt even more. Stop throwing things. Stop it. Finn cried, trying to shield himself with his hands from the objects being thrown by the crowd. Unable to block them, he instinctively cried out to Sarah for help. Sister, save me. But Sarah didn't rush over to protect Finn as she had always done before. She looked at him with cold eyes, saying nothing. Finn cried as he crawled towards Sarah. Sister, didn't you say you would always protect me? We've been together since we were little, never separated. Sister, please help me. I know you won't abandon me. Finn Hayes clung to Serafina Hayes' long, slender leg, pleading desperately. But this time, Sarah's eyes, as she looked down at him, held no trace of pity. She gazed at him from her superior height, then, with a look of cold indifference, kicked him away. So, you do remember that I've always been the one protecting you, since we were little. Sarah's voice was like ice. She stared hard at Finn, the pain in her eyes undeniably real. Finn, I was so good to you. But how did you repay me? She advanced on him step by step, her powerful aura making it almost difficult for Finn to breathe. Finn trembled and retreated. Sister, you misunderstood. I was actually deceiving them. His voice was shaky. I don't love them at all. The person I truly love has always been you. I was actually trying to use them to make them pursue Ethan so that you wouldn't have to marry him. Finn forced down his inner terror, then once again crawled, crying towards Sarah. Sister, you have to believe me. I did all of this to be with you. But unfortunately for him, this line clearly couldn't convince Sarah. Her face cold, she once again kicked Finn away without hesitation. Shut up, you animal. Struck twice in succession, Finn clutched his stomach in agony. It hurts. Sister, how can you do this to me? But in the next second, Sarah was standing over him. Then, aiming at his stomach, she delivered another vicious kick. Finn, do you know what I hate the most? Sarah grabbed a handful of Finn's hair, forcing him to look up at her. What I hate most is that, in the beginning, I truly saw you as my real brother. During those hardest, cruelest days at the orphanage, I myself was starving, my stomach aching with hunger, but I still gave you every last bit of food I had. Because you said, blood ties don't matter. Loving each other makes us family. You said even if the whole world abandoned us, at least we'd have each other, and we'd always have each other. Hearing this, Jordan Maxwell, standing nearby, suddenly became agitated. Damn it, that bastard told me the exact same thing, she exclaimed. That's why I fell in love with him. Because I was abandoned as a child, I had no family, no one. I was desperately trying to hold on to something, and then Finn appeared. He said he loved me. He said it didn't matter if the whole world abandoned me, because we had each other. At her outburst, the other Sterling wards also exclaimed in unison. He told me the exact same thing. That animal. He tricked us. He used our emotional vulnerability from being abandoned by our parents, our desperate need for love, and he tricked all of us. The Sterling wards exchanged horrified glances. As they pieced it together, they realized they weren't Finn Hayes' one and only. They were just fish in his pond. Damn it, we were all played by Finn. I thought everyone just had a secret crush on him, and I was the only one who truly had him. I can't believe he actually slept with all of us. I'm so furious. He even used the same lines to trick us. That bastard. I gave up Ethan for him. Gave up everything. How could he do this to me? In an instant, the wards were overcome with fury. Unable to contain their anger any longer, they rushed forward and began to viciously beat Finn. Finn was kicked and punched by the group of enraged young women, quickly becoming a bloody mess. But even that wasn't enough for them. At this moment, beating Finn to death would hardly satisfy their hatred. Finally, Mr. Sterling, fearing a fatality, ordered his staff to pull them away. Dad, don't stop me. I have to kill this animal with my own hands. Jordan Maxwell screamed, her voice hoarse. If it weren't for him, I could have loved Ethan. Ethan is so good. How could I not like him? But Finn deceived me even before you adopted us. He pretended to be gentle and kind, then tricked my emotions, making me believe the whole world had abandoned me, and only he truly cared for me, truly loved me. Only he would never give up on me. How could I not fall for it? I was abandoned as a child. This world is so big. There are so many people in the world. All I wanted was one person who would love me forever. What's wrong with that? Hearing her words, the other wards showed expressions of profound sorrow. Clearly, their experiences were similar. Ethan Sterling was good, perfect even, but he wasn't an orphan. He didn't understand the shattered souls and scarred hearts of these children abandoned by their parents. They had no family, no friends. Other people had connections to this world, but their connection had been severed the moment their parents abandoned them. So, they desperately wanted to grasp onto something, to prove to the world that they too were loved. And Finn Hayes had exploited precisely that. When Serafina and the others first arrived at the orphanage, he had taken advantage of their vulnerability, taken their hands, and made them a promise. Even if the whole world abandons you, it doesn't matter because you still have me. If we have each other, we have the whole world. How could these broken-hearted young girls not be moved? They just didn't know that this one moment of emotional vulnerability would ruin their entire lives. Enough. Any more of this, and someone will get killed, Mr. Sterling said gravely. I know you're all furious about being deceived, but today is my son's birthday. My son has not wronged any of you. Settle your grievances privately. Don't cause a scene at my son's birthday banquet and spoil his day. Here, Mr. Sterling paused, his gaze sweeping sternly over Ethan's 7 wards. Then, his voice cold, he said, Originally, I intended to announce this decision after Ethan and Isabel's wedding. But your actions have frankly disgusted me. Ethan is right. The Sterling family does not support idlers, and certainly not ungrateful backstabbers. From this day forward, you have no further connection to the Sterling family. Please leave immediately. Mr. Sterling had issued an eviction notice. The Sterling wards were frantic. Dad, what do you mean by that? Are you kicking us out? Dad, we were just blinded by Finn Hayes. We're not ungrateful backstabbers. Dad, we know you're wrong now. Please, give us one more chance. Let us stay and repay your kindness. The girls pleaded earnestly, but Mr. Sterling remained unmoved. I don't need your repayment. From the day I adopted you, I told you I had no expectations of you. You didn't need to repay me for anything. The only thing you had to do was love my son with all your heart. That was my only requirement. But what did you do? You couldn't even fulfill that one single requirement. You pretended to obey my son to his face, but behind his back, you mocked him, ridiculed him. Such duplicity. I am truly disappointed in all of you. His words made the girls hang their heads in shame. Dad, you're right. We were terrible. Jordan Maxwell said, her eyes red. Of the 7, she had the strongest temper, but was also the most straightforward. Now, facing Mr. Sterling's reprimand, she was overwhelmed with shame and anger, and in front of everyone, she slapped herself hard across the face. My biological parents abandoned me. It was you who adopted me, gave me a warm home, but I couldn't even fulfill your only request. I truly don't deserve to stay in the Sterling family anymore. Jordan continued, slapping herself twice more. After that, she dropped to her knees with a thud and kowtowed 3 times to Mr. Sterling, her head hitting the floor with resounding force. Mr. Sterling, I will never forget your kindness to me. If you wouldn't mind, I would like to continue working for Sterling Industries, to slave away for you, to use the rest of my life to repay you for raising me. If you don't want to see me again, then I'll leave now. But every company I open in the future will be a subsidiary of Sterling Industries, and 50% of every dollar I earn will be unconditionally contributed to Sterling Industries. Faced with Jordan's sincere pledge of loyalty, Mr. Sterling only sighed heavily. Go. I cannot forgive anyone who has hurt my son. His words made it clear. Jordan knew there was no way she could stay. So, she silently stood up, then turned and bent her proud knees again, this time to Ethan Sterling. Ethan, the person I've wronged most in my life is you, Jordan said, her eyes red. I should have loved you properly, but I was deceived by Finn Hayes. Not only did I not give you my true heart, I ended up hurting yours. Ethan, I know you won't easily forgive me, but I still have to tell you, I'm sorry. Saying this, Jordan knelt and kowtowed heavily to Ethan. Ethan, the future is long. I will use my entire life to atone. If, in the future, you're willing to see me again, just give me a call. My number will never change. I will wait my whole life for that one call from you. Whatever trouble you encounter in the future, if you come to me, I will go through fire and water for you, without hesitation. After speaking, Jordan kowtowed heavily to Ethan again, then rose and walked away, a solitary, desolate figure. Watching Jordan Maxwell's retreating figure, a wave of sighs swept through the guests. Actually, Jordan is a good kid. She was just deceived by Finn Hayes. To err is human, to forgive divine. The girl shows real remorse. Mr. Sterling didn't need to be so harsh, did he? What can you do? Mr. Sterling dotes on his son. For any other mistake, he might have shown leniency. But hurting his son? That's crossing a major line. There's no coming back from that. Amidst the murmurs, the remaining 4 wards, excluding Maya and Sarah, exchanged glances, then followed Jordan's example, one by one kneeling before Mr. Sterling. Mr. Sterling, I know I no longer have the right to call you Dad, but in my heart, you are my father. I know you won't forgive me, but I cannot fail to repay your kindness in raising me. I too, like Jordan, from this day forward, every company I create will be a subsidiary of Sterling Industries. And every dollar I earn, 50%, no, 60% will be contributed to Sterling Industries. After kowtowing 3 times to Mr. Sterling, the girls rose one by one, then turned to Ethan Sterling and knelt solemnly before him. Ethan, I actually never disliked you. You're a good person, probably the best I've ever met. The reason we mocked you behind your back wasn't because we hated you. It was because Finn was always secretly comparing himself to you. And after comparing, he'd get anxious and insecure, acting very needy. We only said we disliked you to give him a sense of security. I'm sorry, Ethan. We were only focused on satisfying Finn's vanity and didn't consider your feelings. I know it's too late to say anything now. The damage is done. I no longer deserve to ask for your forgiveness. But if one day in the future you encounter any trouble, it's like Jordan said, one call from you, and I will go through hell or high water for you, without hesitation. My phone number will also never change. I hope that before I die, I can receive your call one more time, hear you say my name. If that happens, I'll feel like I've come home again. The wards said their goodbyes to Ethan one after another, then turned and left, their figures lonely and desolate. Finally, of the 7 wards, only Maya Vance and Serafina Hayes remained. Maya's eyes reddened silently. She didn't directly apologize to Mr. Sterling, but looked at Ethan with a face full of sorrow. Ethan, Maya said, her voice choked with emotion, I was in those videos with Finn. I've always loved you. That has never changed. Hearing this, Ethan was momentarily stunned. He carefully recalled the videos of Finn with the other girls. It seemed Maya, indeed, wasn't among them. Maya was the only one who hadn't been seduced by Finn. After a brief silence, Ethan frowned and asked, if you genuinely loved me, then why did you join the others in mocking me? A wave of bitterness washed over Maya. She smiled sadly and said, my original plan was to pretend I disliked you, then incite the other girls to stay away from you. That way, you would be all mine. But I never expected. My cleverness backfired. You actually overheard those words. Maya Vance was known as the Smiling Tiger. Her face always wore a charming smile, but it was a saint's facade hiding a devil's heart. She could take a life amidst laughter and pleasantries, or push someone into hell with a gentle smile. Her words were always a mix of truth and lies. Even Serafina Hayes couldn't tell when she was lying and when she was telling the truth. Perhaps because she was so adept at lying, when Finn Hayes took Maya's hand and said with an innocent face, it doesn't matter if you've been abandoned, I will love you forever. As long as we're together, we can fight the whole world. Maya saw through his lies instantly. He didn't love her. He just wanted to use her. She would never be his one and only. Never. All of Finn's lies were transparent and powerless before Maya. She saw through them at a glance. That's why, from the bottom of her heart, she despised Finn. But a smiling tiger is called a smiling tiger because even if her heart is filled with disgust, her face remains smiling. She didn't reveal this aversion. Instead, she used Finn to firmly bind Serafina. What's sibling bond? Finn, don't be naive. You and Sarah aren't even blood related. A sibling bond without blood ties is too fragile. Sooner or later, Sarah will abandon you. Ethan Sterling is so handsome, so outstanding. He'll eventually win Sarah over. When that time comes, you'll be all alone. If I were you, I'd strike first. Sarah is a conservative person. Once you sleep with her, she'll definitely never be able to leave you. Oh, I'm just saying. Finn, don't take it seriously. These are all dirty tricks. Don't learn bad things. Under the guise of a concerned older sister, Maya secretly instigated Finn, encouraging him to drug Sarah. Then, everything fell into place. Finn became Sarah's man. Sarah's mindset was indeed very conservative. In her view, since they had been intimate, she naturally had to take responsibility. Moreover, the person she had been intimate with was the brother who had depended on her since childhood. Actually, in the beginning, Sarah truly only saw Finn as a brother. But ever since that accidental intimacy, their relationship had changed. Sarah had been constantly conflicted and in pain. On one hand, she genuinely considered Finn her brother. Both emotionally and rationally, she couldn't accept being with him romantically. But on the other hand, she had slept with Finn. He was the most important person in her life. She couldn't abandon him. She lived in this state of contradiction and pain, her feelings for Finn twisted, chaotic, and unclear. Ethan Sterling was different. The affection Ethan offered her was always passionate, bright, like the summer sun, capable of melting all ice with its appearance. How she longed to love Ethan, such a fervent and radiant love. Who wouldn't yearn for it? But how could she love Ethan? She already had Finn. She couldn't betray Finn. She could betray the entire world, but she could not betray Finn because she had once obsessively made Finn her entire world. But now, Finn had betrayed her. Her whole world had betrayed her. Ethan. Sarah walked towards him, looking lost. Then, her eyes red, she gave a broken smile. Is it too late for me to win you back? If I kneel down now and admit my mistakes, will you forgive me? If I give you my life, can you continue to love me? Please, Ethan, don't be so cruel. Give me one more chance. However, before the words of pleading could leave her lips, Ethan, his face cold, had already given Sarah her answer. That's right. You no longer have a chance. As he spoke, he smiled and took Isabel Montgomery's hand. Because I have already chosen Isabel. I'm going to marry her, be her husband. There is nothing more despairing in this world than when you loved me. I was too slow, too blind to my own love for you. And when I finally woke up, tearing my heart out to offer it to you, you told me you no longer loved me. The pain struck with such ferocity that Serafina Hayes clutched her chest and abruptly coughed up a mouthful of blood. Everyone was terrified. Ethan even instinctively moved to support her, but he forced himself to stop, to not step forward. Because he had let go. From now on, whatever became of Sarah, he no longer cared. Ha 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 ha. Sarah burst into wild laughter, blood trickling from the corner of her lips. Her skin was so pale it was almost bloodless. I truly am the world's biggest fool. Then, still laughing, Sarah turned and walked away, step by step, leaving the Sterling estate. Finn Hayes was also thrown out by the Sterling family staff. But Maya Vance remained. Mr. Sterling, Maya said, your only requirement of me, I fulfilled it. I love Ethan. More than anyone. I genuinely would give my life for him. It's just that my love wasn't straightforward enough. My love was too despicable. So I lost. But I never hurt Ethan. Every time Ethan was sad, I was the first one to comfort him. If he was unhappy, I would find ways to make him smile. As long as he could smile, you could cut me with a knife, and I wouldn't care. At this, a tear rolled down Maya's cheek. She choked out, maybe you don't believe me, but Ethan has always been my salvation. I was born out of wedlock. My mother died in childbirth. My father took me in, but he didn't love me, didn't want me. He and his wife beat and cursed me every day. Finally, one day, I couldn't take it anymore and ran away. I wandered for a long time before the police found me and sent me to an orphanage. I thought my whole life would be one of drifting and suffering until that day. Ethan, you came to the orphanage. You were like an angel, so beautiful, so pure. When you walked up to me, I even wondered if I was dreaming. Then, Ethan, you took my hand and said, don't be afraid, let's go home together. In that moment, I knew I had found my salvation. Maya Vance was an expert liar, so she could tell at a glance who was telling the truth and who was faking it. Finn Hayes had tried to deceive her with sweet words, but she hadn't fallen for it. Instead, she had turned the tables on him. But the moment Ethan Sterling approached her, she knew he wouldn't lie to her. Unlike them, who had crawled and struggled in the mud since childhood, Ethan was too clean, too good. How could she not love him? If he would just look at her one more time, she would give him her life. Mr. Sterling, I don't want to leave, Maya said. Even if Ethan didn't choose me in the end, I want to protect him for a lifetime, to always be his loyal supporter. So please let me stay. I can help manage Sterling Industries, always as second in command, to protect Ethan's inheritance. Maya's words finally moved Mr. Sterling. He agreed to adopt her as his daughter, allowing her to remain with the Sterling family. After all, only she had truly loved Ethan. Still, someone in the crowd asked, letting Finn Hayes off like this. Isn't that too easy for him? Hearing this, Ethan Sterling sneered. Don't worry. If we don't deal with him, there are plenty of others who will. After all, Serafina Hayes and the other 5 wards were no pushovers. Finn had deceived them so thoroughly, they certainly wouldn't let him off lightly. So, Ethan didn't need to get his own hands dirty. He just needed to watch the fireworks from a safe distance. A month later, Ethan Sterling and Isabel Montgomery held an unprecedentedly grand wedding. The celebration was lavish, with all of New York's most prominent figures in attendance. Isabel declared the wedding banquet would last for 3 days and 3 nights. She wanted the whole world to know she had married the man of her dreams. Jordan Maxwell and the other 4 former wards also came. However, they didn't enter the venue, afraid that Ethan and Mr. Sterling would be displeased to see them. So, they merely left their wedding gifts and departed quietly. The gifts were all exquisite, each one priceless. This was the only thing they could do for Ethan now. Offer an expensive gift, then quietly leave, no longer disturbing his life. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the wedding ceremony officially began. Countless fireworks exploded, and blue sparks formed large words in the sky. Congratulations, Isabel and Ethan. Amidst this joyous chaos, Serafina Hayes appeared. In just one short month, Ethan almost didn't recognize her. Sarah's hair had turned completely white overnight. She was pale and gaunt, like a fragile, translucent snow doll in winter, so delicate it seemed a touch might shatter her. Ethan, Sarah said, her voice soft. Can you give me an hour? I have something I want to say to you. Mr. Sterling's face immediately darkened. Before Ethan could reply, he interjected sharply. Serafina Hayes, the Sterling family has done nothing to wrong you. Please leave immediately and stop harassing my son. Today is my son's wedding. If you have even a shred of decency left, you should be like the others. Leave your gift and depart quietly, instead of coming here to cause trouble. Hearing this, Sarah gave a bitter smile. Mr. Sterling, don't worry. I'll leave soon. I just want to say a few words to Ethan alone. After I've said them, I will leave. Ethan looked at Sarah coldly. Sarah, I have nothing to say to you. Sarah smiled, a strange, almost mesmerizing smile. She gazed into Ethan's eyes and said, her voice tinged with a desperate obsession. Ethan, an hour? No, 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes is enough. Give me 10 minutes, and then I will disappear completely from your world. Her voice held a subtle plea, but Ethan's expression remained icy, showing no hint of compassion. I won't give you 1 minute. A tearing pain shot through her heart again. Sarah clutched her chest, thinking bleakly. Even 1,000 arrows piercing the heart couldn't be worse than this. Ethan, Sarah said, her smile unwavering, since you're being so heartless, then don't blame me. As she spoke, she unbuttoned her coat. Underneath, strapped to her body, was a timer bomb. In an instant, everyone froze in terror. Some of the more timid guests scrambled for the exits. Mr. Sterling's face turned ashen. Serafina Hayes, what in God's name do you think you're doing? Sarah was still smiling. I only want 10 minutes. To say a proper goodbye to Ethan. After I've said goodbye, I will leave. Ethan has nothing to say to you. Mr. Sterling roared, beside himself with fury and fear. You crazy woman. You strapped a bomb to yourself. How could I possibly let my son go near you? Then I'll just have to detonate it, Sarah said, her voice chillingly calm. We can all die together. Despite Serafina Hayes' death threat, Isabel Montgomery and Mr. Sterling still refused to let Ethan approach her. Sarah had clearly lost her mind, strapping explosives to herself. What if she decided to take Ethan with her in a murder-suicide? It was too dangerous. But if she detonates it here, Ethan argued, at this close range, I definitely won't survive. And everyone else will die with me. Dad, Izzy, just let me go. Sarah has done a lot of wrong. but she's always been true to her word. If she says she won't detonate the bomb as long as I go to her, she'll keep her promise. Ethan insisted on going. Isabel and Mr. Sterling, left with no other choice, reluctantly agreed. But they demanded that Sarah and Ethan remain within their line of sight, not venture too far. Agreed, Sarah consented without hesitation. She then led Ethan to the hotel rooftop. The wind howled fiercely. Sarah stood at the very edge of the roof, her face etched with sorrow as she looked at Ethan. As she gazed at him, tears suddenly began to stream down her cheeks. Ethan, Sarah said, her voice trembling, if only I had met you sooner. Ethan said nothing, merely turning his head to look at the distant cityscape. The truth is, I do love you, Sarah confessed, tears falling relentlessly. You were like a light that shone into my sunless life. But I couldn't bear to betray Finn. I thought, since he came first, I had to love him properly. No matter how good you were, I couldn't betray him. I had to put him first in everything, make him my whole world. That, I thought, was undying love. But I never imagined he was a liar. I was so stupid. The world's biggest fool isn't as foolish as I am. Hearing this, Ethan couldn't help but sigh. Sarah, it's come to this. Saying more won't change anything. I did love you, but that love has been eroded by your betrayals and your coldness. Now, I feel nothing for you. I hope you'll stop clinging to this. Let's part ways with some dignity for both our sakes. At his words, Sarah gave a desolate smile. She choked back a sob. Ethan, don't worry. I won't cling to you. I just want to talk to you one last time before I leave. Unlike the other girls, they all have parents. But I don't. I've never seen my parents since I was born. I have no relatives, hardly any friends. My whole world once was just Finn. Then you came into my life. You brought me home. Though I never said it, I truly saw you and Mr. Sterling as my family. She paused. If there had been no Finn, I think we would have had a completely different ending. Ethan, have you heard of the theory of parallel universes? Maybe in another reality, there's no Finn standing between us. You would be my only salvation, and I would love you as my whole world. We could have had that ending. But alas, all of this was just if. In reality, all that remained was the wreckage of what might have been. Ethan remained silent for a moment, then finally nodded. I once considered you my world too. Hearing this, Sarah finally smiled. Her smile was no longer filled with despair, but with a profound sense of release and contentment. To have been loved by you, Sarah said, I am honored. It's just a pity. I woke up too late. I missed you. If there's a next life, I hope I'll have a chance to love you again. After saying this, Sarah suddenly threw her arms around Ethan, pulled his head down, and kissed him. Seraphina, what are you doing? Seeing Sarah forcibly kiss Ethan, Isabel Montgomery shot forward, ready to fight, but Maya Vance held her back. Others might not understand, but Maya, also an orphan, knew exactly what Sarah was about to do. This might be the only time in her life she would kiss the man she loved. After a kiss that felt like it stole all the air from her lungs, Sarah finally released Ethan. She pushed him back firmly, then smiled a soft, sad smile. Ethan, don't be sad for me. Don't cry. I'm not worth it. With those words, she turned around and, without a moment's hesitation, jumped from the rooftop. This time, her flight needed no wings. Seraphina. Ethan lunged forward, trying to grab her, but clutched at empty air. He saw her smile as she fell, and in the next second, she was gone, shattered on the ground below. Once, Finn Hayes had been her world, but Finn had betrayed her. Once, Ethan Sterling could have been her salvation, but she had betrayed Ethan. Two betrayals had severed all her connections to this world. She had no family, no friends, no one left to care about. The rest of her life stretched before her, an expanse of unending pain. She couldn't bear it. How can anyone be so ill-fated? Alone from birth, without ties, spending a lifetime searching for one person who would love her forever, never betray her. And when she finally found that person, she missed her chance. Such a laughable life. It was better not to have it. In the instant she leaped, Sarah thought, if only I could cross over to that universe without Finn. If only the first person I met had been Ethan. But alas, life had no ifs. She had already missed her chance. Before she jumped, Sarah had removed the bomb strapped to her body. So, her fall, apart from her own death, caused no other casualties. Ethan Sterling and Isabel Montgomery were successfully married. Maya Vance took it upon herself to arrange Seraphina Hayes' funeral. Seraphina, Maya said, standing before Sarah's tombstone, a bottle of whiskey in her hand. She poured half onto the ground, then drank the other half herself. When you were alive, I actually hated you. But now, I think I understand you. In a lifetime, finding someone you can spend your life with isn't easy. We all had our chances, a chance to be with Ethan, but we all missed it. She paused. Ethan is very happy now. So rest in peace. Life is lonely, but I won't kill myself. I'll endure this loneliness. And for you, for everyone, I'll keep watching over Ethan. Truth be told, the way you ended up, it was partly my fault. When I die, I'll apologize to you in the underworld. Here, Maya stopped, then clinked her bottle against Sarah's tombstone, a toast. Serafina Hayes, see you in hell.